We're live.
All right. I don't see anyone else in the meeting.
Oh, I'm so sorry. There we go. Bob, we're ready whenever you are.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry.
It looked like there was one other person trying to join.
No, it was just the two.
I don't see Lee Dival, but
He's here.
all right. We'll call to order the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, June 3rd, 2021. Our final, hopefully, Zoom meeting. We're going to resume live meetings on June 17th.
I don't know why I can't hear them.
Those present tonight from the township are Ed McGargy,
I
a
was just
voting
on Zoom
member,
on this computer today.
Jessica Vitale, a
Yeah.
voting member, Jesse Poynton, a voting member, and myself, Bob Kane, a voting member. Bill Malone, our solicitor, Arlene LaRosa, our court reporter, and Kelly Kirk, the queen of codes.
Zoning, but that's
New title, Kel.
okay.
Jesse, do you want to lead us in the pledge tonight?
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America,
United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one nation, under God,
indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you. We have two new cases this evening. The first case is Z21-19, Paul and Joan Thomas, owners of 2716 Pine Valley Lane, Ardmore, PA, DC folio number 2206 0175000, who seek variances from the provisions of section 182-204C7 and 182-204C4 to construct a 16-foot by 24-foot deck, which will encroach into the required 25-foot rear yard setback by 23 feet and further exceed the existing non-conforming building coverage of 21.2% by an additional 5.22%, paren, 481 square feet, close paren, where 20% is the maximum permitted. The property is owned R2 and located in the 6th ward. And we have Paul and Joan, right? You guys need to unmute.
Is it unmuted?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, are you both going to be testifying tonight or presenting? You both going to talk tonight?
I will, if that's okay.
Sure. I just need to swear you in, and
Oh, okay.
I won't swear Joan in if she's not going to speak. But if you do speak, Joan, I'm going to have to interrupt you, and then I'll swear you in.
Okay.
So, Paul, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. And Bill Malone, do you have the exhibits?
Yes, but before we get to that, Bob, I do want to advise the applicants that we are typically a 5-member board. We do not have Bill Rhodes, one of the members here tonight, which means that you have 3 options, basically. First is to advise you that in a situation where there is a tie vote, a 2-2 vote, that renders it a denial of the application. So you have the option of requesting a continuance for another day when all 5 members will be present. You can agree to go forward with the 4-member board as is, or you can agree to go forward tonight and have Mr. Rhodes read the transcript and vote later, which would then render it a 5-member board, which would take you out of that issue of the possibility of a 2-2 tie. So the very first thing we need to do is ask, what you would prefer to do.
What do you want to do?
Go for it.
Okay, we'd like to do it tonight, and
If there's,
the fifth member could decide if need be.
Okay, so what that would mean is there, sometimes, not every time, we would render a decision on the same date as the hearing. In that situation, if you want Mr. Rhodes to read, your decision will not be rendered until the next scheduled meeting on June 17th.
If we opt for the 4-person vote tonight and it is tied, can we then go with having the other member read it?
Yeah, no, you actually have to make that decision as to what you want to do ahead of time.
Let's go for it.
Okay,
Well,
all right, we'll go for it tonight.
Go for a 4-member board?
Yeah,
Okay. I've also had opportunity, as Mr. Kane indicated, to review the exhibit list. Please listen to me carefully. I have 5 pre-marked exhibits. One is the variance application and acknowledgement. That's A1. A2 is the deed, which I have reviewed and does establish standing, so we don't have to go through that. A3 is a document with the building and impervious surface calculation worksheet. A4 is your site plan, and A5 is your existing / proposed zoning compliance chart. Did I identify the exhibits that you presented correctly?
yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Kane, I think we're good.
All right. So Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you would like to do and why?
Okay, well, currently we have a cement patio out back that's basically 10 by 20 with a railing around it. We didn't realize that that wasn't part of the building. That's impervious now, I guess. But at any rate, we wanted to go out 6 feet from the end of that patio. So we didn't think it was, we didn't realize we were asking for that much. We just thought we were asking for 6 feet. The reason we want to do it, well, we have twofold. One is we would like to have more space because as our family grows and grandchildren and stuff, the patio is pretty small and crowded. And also, to access the patio, we have to exit from the side door and walk around back, which is getting a little more difficult for us because now that we're both in our 70s and have new hips and stuff. So if we do this, we're going to have French doors in the window behind me, and we could walk right out onto the deck, and we could use it a lot more. So I guess that's why we want it. It
Well,
turns out,
not to interrupt you, but you're asking for a variance and that requires some hardship. So you keep using the word one. So what I hear you describe some medical conditions and that would indicate a need. So I just want you to keep that in mind as you continue. Because if you need something, that is more consistent with a hardship for a variance as opposed to wanting something. You know what I mean?
okay,
And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
Right.
Your words, you describe English.
I mean, it wouldn't be true to say that we absolutely need other access, although it's close to that. So that would be an important need for us. And also, we don't have any options to put a deck like on the side. It turns out that our property is actually 8%, the lot is 8% smaller than is supposedly allowed. And our house as it exists now is already encroaching by, I don't know, it's by 18 feet, I think. And that was, I mean, we didn't do anything. That's just the way it was built. And I'm not sure why it was allowed that way at the time. But if we want to do something to, improve it, then we need to do it in the back. And we have, it's all woods behind us. Our nearest neighbor in the rear is across the creek. They're probably close to a quarter of a mile away. So I don't think there's any issue with regard to neighbors or, or encroaching on anybody else's property.
Is that it?
The hardship is the fact that the house is built on a small plot, on the plot of land. That was-
Right.
What Joan says is not gonna be on the record unless I swear her in. I'm happy to do that if you wanna, like, speak on the record, Joan. If you guys wanna caucus amongst yourselves, then let us know and we can pause for.
All right, I'm sorry. So, yeah, what the point is that it seems to be a hardship to us that our lot is so small and that we don't have any options in terms of basically doing anything with our property. Because anything, since we're already encroaching and since our buildings, which we've never added to, are already over the 20%, then we would just be stuck.
And
that seems to be hard.
that's pretty much spelled out on your exhibit A5, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else you want to add before the board members ask you questions, Paul?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay. Ed McGarvey.
Yes, I'm trying to just find out the discrepancy here between the meeting notice and their rear yard setback on your plot plan. If you build this deck, how close will the far edge of your deck be to the property line?
I believe it will be 2 feet from the property line.
Your
Thereabouts.
drawing says 6.17 feet.
That's exhibit A4, right, Ed?
Okay, where's
Could
that?
be.
A4.
A4.
16 plus.
Could we bring A4 up on the
Okay.
screen, Kelly? Is that okay? Thank you.
So we never knew where our property line was until this process began. And so through the entire process, first we went with the people that were building the deck and applied for the permit. We went by their numbers, and then it turned out that they were off by a lot. So we tried to do this on our own. And 16, if our house is already encroaching by 7 feet and we add 16 feet to that, we thought that would mean that it would be 2 feet. So I'm not exactly sure where the 6-foot number comes from. We
Well,
also,
part of the problem, okay.
we
Part of the
also-
problem that
I'm sorry.
okay, part of the problem is that even an accessory structure such as a shed, we wouldn't allow to be that close to the property line.
Okay, and that's
It usually requires, go ahead.
the fact that it's woods behind us has no bearing on that?
Doesn't restrict it from always being woods. It's not your property, it's someone else's.
I assume it's the township's.
I don't know how to assume that. He doesn't say anything here. Why do you assume it's the township's?
Well, I don't know who else it could possibly
Or the
be.
state.
Or the state.
Because
I mean, it's
property-
woods. When we first moved in, actually, the township used to tend those woods. They used to trim trees and clean up debris, and it was kind of like a walking path back there alongside the creek. But that only lasted for about 5 years. And my understanding is that back then there were a heck of a lot more township employees, and I guess they treated it as park. Now the designation is woods. So they don't tend it.
Okay, I don't know what designation of woods would be, but let's look at your house. Your house, your existing house, not your patio, but your house. How far is that from the rear property line?
Apparently it's 18 feet.
Well, your plot plan says encroaching by 18.83 feet, so I'm not really sure what these numbers mean. There's no measurement showing that number, 18 feet.
Right.
It wouldn't be encroaching by 18 feet if that was how far it is from the property line, because you have to have 25.
Right. I would assume that that's just a misprint, that it shouldn't be encroaching. It should be that is how far from the property line it is.
Okay, we're going to have these plot plan actually represent exactly what you're requesting. Otherwise, it's very difficult to approve when we don't really know exactly what we need to approve or not approve. But let me move on from that, and then we'll have the solicitor and the chairman address that a little bit later. The other issues, do you plan to put a roof over the structure?
No,
Do you plan to, how far is it off the ground?
it's, it'll be about a foot above the existing patio.
So there will be no stories underneath the structure?
No,
Okay. Do you plan to have any utilities on this deck?
no. They have to put a light outside the new door, but
So
no.
electric, you plan to have electric installed?
Yeah, they'll need to be electric.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Jessica,
Are you planning to put a railing around the deck, or is it just the flooring?
Yes, a railing.
And how tall will your railing be?
I think it's 3 feet.
Okay. And will there be any steps down to the property off of the deck?
There'll be, on the lower side, there'll be one step, and on the higher side, there'll be 2 steps.
And do those steps occur within the 16 by 24 foot footprint?
Good question. I believe so, yes. Should be, yeah.
And then I noticed that the deck is getting very close to the 500-foot floodplain. Have you found that your backyard floods a lot after heavy rains?
No, absolutely not. The worst storm we had was Floyd, and the water didn't even come up a third of the way up our hill, the burn. So we're actually over 6 feet above that. And this would only decrease that by maybe a foot or so. So we'd still be well above it.
Okay. And then my last question is whether a 16-foot by 24-foot deck is the minimum size required.
Required by us?
Yes. Required to be, to meet your needs.
No, I guess not. We could make it smaller, not a whole lot smaller, because we're not increasing the area of the patio by that much now. So I don't know what would, like, maybe if it was 4 feet instead of 6 feet, and we'd still get extra space, and we'd still have the door as entrance. So to answer your question, no, it wouldn't absolutely have to be 16 by
24.
24.
So a 14-foot deck would potentially be acceptable to you.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any other questions right now. Thank you.
Jesse,
Yes, hello, good evening. My first question is, do you have a fence along the rear property line?
No,
Do you have any plans to add a fence in the future?
no.
So you testified earlier that this was the first time that you had your rear property line established, or to your knowledge. Did you believe that your property possibly extended further towards the creek?
Yeah, we thought it was at least down to the bottom of the berm where the drain pipe comes out. I thought it was there. I even thought it could possibly be a little further towards the tree line. Apparently not.
And then I just wanted to, another thing that comes up often on rear, I don't know if you watched our meeting from 2 weeks ago, when we had some cases that talked about the distances between the back of the property, back deck to other structures. And one of the requirements is that it needs to be at least 10 feet. And the reason for that is to allow for emergency services to get back there and have room. So that was kind of my question about if there was a fence there and whether the potential 6 foot dimension between the edge of the deck and your property line would be a hindrance. Is it possible for a vehicle to even get to your backyard from either side of your property?
Oh yeah, they've been back here. They were back here in the spring for tree trimming or a dead tree that had to come down. One was on our property and there were a couple on the property next to us. So yeah, there is access. They come in from the side off of Golfview Road.
Okay. And yeah, because I see that what appears to be, are those stairs on the bottom of the plan there? Is that your possibly at the end of your driveway? Are there stairs that go from the driveway?
There's stone steps that come from the driveway up to the level of our backyard.
So so those go up. And I believe that you testified that currently to access your backyard, you have to go out a side door. And then do you have to access those steps to get up to the patio?
Not those steps, no. On the other side of the house.
I see.
There's a step down from the kitchen door. And there's 2 steps now because the one was getting too high. So we just had another step there so that we could step down easier.
Is that side, the side that you're talking about now where you exit your kitchen, is that side more level towards the patio besides the 2 steps? Would you say than the side that has the larger step, the driveway side?
Yes, definitely. The driveway side is well removed, from the patio at all. And it would be a slight incline from there up to the patio.
Just trying to think if I have any other questions. No, I think that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Okay.
okay. I have no questions. So I'll just run through one more time. Ed, do you have any additional questions?
Yes, I'd like to have you address this issue of the plot plan not reflecting the actual site conditions or not being sure whether they're.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to break off with Bill in a moment, Ed. So we'll discuss. Okay. Do you have any other beyond that? Do you have any other questions? Specific questions?
No, I don't.
And Jessica?
No, I do not.
And Jesse?
No, I'm still good.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Kel, would you put us in a breakout room with Bill Malone, please? Oh, we're not live yet. All right. We'll resume the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, June 3rd, 2021. So, Paul, we were discussing a legal matter with our attorney during that break. And rather than me try to describe specifically what we're going to request from you, I'm going to ask Bill to just describe it to you.
Sure, and it's quite simple. Is there are some concerns regarding what the plot plan that was drawn up in 2010 looked like versus the testimony, and the board needs to have an educated decision in terms of where the lines are drawn. And so my recommendation to the board is that this matter be continued to June 17th for you to come back. Hopefully, you should be able to do that with a surveyed plot plan showing the actual dimensions and the actual lines and where everything would be.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just too difficult for us to understand, Paul.
Right.
The setback, where the permitted setback line would be. So, you know, we might see that dissect your house a little bit to show that your house is already encroaching. And the measurements are just extremely difficult to read. So,
can I ask for a little advice? Because this site plan that's here was done by an architect based on the elevation plan that had been done by the civil engineer in 2010. So that's why I thought this is absolutely the correct one. I don't know how I can go about getting one that's more correct. According to him, it's the proposed, to answer the earlier question about the 18 feet and the 6 feet, according to him, on this, this is the proposed deck, and he has it as it would be 6.17 from the property line and encroaching by 18.83, which would make sense, assuming his numbers are right, and I don't know how to get any better numbers than that.
well,
Can you help me, tell me what I can do to?
I think it's making the assumption that your house is 25 feet from the rear of your house is 25 feet from the property line. We don't, that has not been established.
Okay, but if that were true, then the 16-foot deck would show, it would be 9 feet from the property line. And that's not what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult to figure out what exactly he's saying. Because you said on your application, it's only 2 feet from the rear property line.
Right, that was a number that I got probably from a previous site. This is like the 5th site plan. 2 of them we did ourselves. The company did 2 that's going to build the deck. I just don't know where to go from here.
Bill, we can't hear you.
Can you,
Hello?
Yeah, Bill Malone was trying to speak.
Have you been in contact with the architect during this application process?
Yes.
Okay. My suggestion would be to continue this matter to June 17th, have you contact him, have him contact me. I'll give you my phone number at the office.
Okay.
And I'll advise him as to what the board is looking for.
Okay, that would be great. Get a pencil, John.
and paper?
It should be a relatively easy fix in terms of the need for the board to see what's there. But I think maybe if I just talk to him, that'll speed things along.
Yeah, that would
With pictures?
be greatly appreciated, because I don't think I could explain this to him.
With pictures of theirs.
And what's your number?
So my name is Bill Malone, Malone, and the number is 8806.
8806. Okay. I'll get right on this and, yeah, hopefully,
Tell him his name, not
hopefully
Nigel
we'll get it fixed. The architect's name is, Nigel
Williamson.
Williamson. Okay,
Pictures help.
With that, we'll continue this case to our June 17th hearing.
Okay,
We'll
got it.
see you. All right.
okay,
Take care, Paul.
good night.
Good night. All right, our next case is Z21-20. Luis Gennaro Curizumbi and Pedro Perez, lessees of 2126 Darby Road, Haverford Town, PA, DC folio number 220000068300, who seek a variance from the provisions of section 182707B to allow restaurant use with approximately 950 square feet of customer service area to occupy the building without providing the 10 off-street parking spaces required and any other relief deemed necessary by the board. Property is zoned C3 and located in the 3rd ward. So who do we have on behalf of the applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Kane. My name is Lee Stivel. I am counsel to the applicants. Luis is seated to my immediate right in the red shirt. Pedro is seated to the far right in the blue shirt. They are the applicants this evening. My Supreme Court ID is 46511, and we're here on the application you had just mentioned.
Okay. So you did submit some pre-marked exhibits. I have A1 through A4. Do you want to identify them for the record, Lee?
Yes.
Before we start that, Lee, just good to see you, by the way.
Thank you.
You heard me with the colloquy at the first hearing with the 4-member board. How would your clients like to proceed?
They will proceed with a 4-member board for making consideration tonight, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then, as Mr. Kane indicated, if you could just identify the exhibits, I don't think I need to do it for you.
Thank you. Exhibit A1 is actually a formal deed from the recorder of deeds of the subject property. Exhibit A2 is the commercial lease for the subject property. The applicants are the individual tenants on the lease. A3 is a plan of the property as improved and a plan of the interior of the property as proposed.
So I have reviewed the exhibits and we don't have to go through standing. It is appropriate.
Thank you. A4 is a previous decision of this board, decision Z as in zebra 99-30 of November 9, 1999, approving expansion of the subject site building in the rear and conditioning that decision on several items, including the maintenance of 2 parking spots to the rear. I would also request that the board, just for the purposes of this hearing and the record, mark Township Zoning Ordinance B1, Township Zoning Map B2, advertisements B3, and the zoning application B4.
Billy, did you get those?
Got it. No issues with that. That's fine.
And we're ready to proceed when the board is ready.
Now, Lee, before we begin, in the order on A4, there are certain conditions attached to the approval. Are you seeking modification of any of these? Like there shall be no Sunday hours of operation,
Yes.
limitation of employees.
Yeah. Well, from my perspective, this application is a discrete application separate and apart from the prior application. The sole reason why we have appended the previous decision from the board is that this decision actually created the existing nonconformities which we are dealing with. That being the limitation of the rear yard and the potential for off-street parking and loading. So I really don't believe that these conditions would translate into this application. This board would have to consider its own conditions on this particular application, what it hears.
Okay. Please proceed then.
Just a little summary for the board. The subject property was the Velour Hair Salon, and it's located on Darby Road, approximately 100 feet from West Benedict. The area is substantially commercial. It is an online development area. That area of the township has notable businesses such as Brick and Brew. It has the shop in that area, a cafe, a yoga studio, dental area. This particular business is vacant at the current time. We propose to do only interior improvements to rehabilitate the interior and establish an Italian restaurant. In terms of hours, this restaurant will be open 7 days. Typically, and Lewis will correct me if I'm incorrect on this, Monday through Friday, lunch and dinner, Saturday, Sunday, potentially a buffet in the mid-morning time, lunch and dinner as well, and potentially buffet on Friday. A brunch type of thing, excuse me. We have an architectural plan of the interior improvements. We expect approximately 8 employees, not more than 60 seats, both eat in and take out. And from there, I would call my first witness.
And who might that be?
Lewis?
And I want to hear you say his name correctly, Lee, and I hope I didn't butcher it too poorly.
Kurzenbay.
Kurzenbay.
Kurzenbay? Say it, no, say it like you're in the old country.
Louis Carissa
Kurzenbay.
Okay, we're going with Luis. Lewis.
That's fine.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear to say the truth.
And your full name and the capacity in which you appear this evening?
Yes.
What is your full name?
My name is Louis Carissa.
Please spell Kurzenbay for the court reporter.
Q-U-I-R-I-Z-U-M-B-A-Y.
And what is your address, sir?
126 Darby Road.
Okay. Sir, what is your profession?
I'm a cook.
And do you have an interest in the property located at 2126 Darby Road?
Yes, I'm a lessee.
You're a lessee?
Yeah.
A tenant?
Yes, I'm a tenant.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to Exhibit A2. Do you have that in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the lease in which you and Mr. Perez are the tenants?
Yes.
Okay. And is that lease current and executory right now?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you propose for the property at 2126 Darby Road?
We want to open an Italian restaurant.
Okay. And could you please describe the property? And I'm going to ask you to use A3 for identification when describing the property.
Well, the size of the property is 23 feet wide by 201 feet deep.
Deep.
Yes.
In depth.
In depth, yes.
Okay. And is the property improved? Are there buildings on the property?
Yes, there is.
Could you describe those buildings?
Well, it's a 12 high story feet with the building, and it's a 15 high to the next building. So it's two buildings at the,
Okay. There are two segments to this building, two partitions?
yeah, well, I didn't know it was two. but
Two?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
but the interior is one singular building?
Yes, one singular building.
Okay. And does the building pretty much take up the entire width of the property?
Yes,
And then does the property have a rear
yes, it has a rear
entrance
entrance.
as well?
Yes,
And that's a rear yard?
right.
Okay. Is there access to that rear yard by way of driveway?
Yes, there's 2-3 driveways probably.
Okay, and how many parking spaces are currently in the rear yard?
2 in the rear.
Okay. And what is the property zoned?
Commercial C3 general.
And what are the uses which surround the property along Darby Road area?
Well, there's a bridal cafe, salon, there's a restaurant, pubs. It's real estate, the yoga. It's much auto repairs. It's much more in the area. So
And that's within that immediate block?
in the block, yes, in the block is what I mentioned.
Are there similar commercial uses 1 block away?
Yeah, there is.
Okay. And what is the current condition of the property?
The current condition of the property is in the great sector.
Sorry?
Excuse me, sir?
The structure is great in the current condition.
The current is in good condition?
Yeah,
Okay. Is it empty?
yeah, it's an empty.
Okay, so there's no active business in the
No,
property?
not right now.
Okay. Do you propose to improve the property itself?
Yes,
Where do you propose improvements?
it's only interior.
Okay.
And outside, it's technically just to clean up the yard and maintain the sidewalks. It's clean, that's it.
Now, do you have a plan of your proposed improvements of the property?
Yes,
And would that also be on Exhibit A3?
yes.
Okay. And is there any, other than the 2 spots in the rear yard, is there any area of the property that you could add parking?
And the property, no.
Okay. Is there any on-street parking contiguous or next to the property?
Well, in front of the property, in the block is technically like about 12 to 20 parking in the block,
Along the street?
only in the front side of the street, yes, by Darby Road.
Okay. Do any other businesses have parking from the front?
Not all of them. Well, in the block, yes, because the Darby Road has the public parking.
So the other businesses use Darby Road to park?
The other businesses that have Darby Road parking as well, yes.
Okay. Is there any other off-street parking available to the businesses in the area?
Yeah, there is the Oakmont public parking.
Is it Oakmont?
It's Oakmont, yes.
Okay. And how many spaces do you believe are in that public parking area?
Like about 40 spaces.
Okay. And how far is the Oakmont South parking facility from your business?
Well, by the rear yard is about 200 feet,
Okay.
and it's just right
Okay.
off the street in
Okay.
Darby Road, yes.
Now, are there any unique physical conditions to the property which impact your ability to develop the property in strict conformity with the zoning hearing board?
The property has existed for so many years, and for the previous approvals, and we just want to improve, and we have.
Did the court reporter get that?
The property has been for so many years.
The property has existed for so many years
Yes, and its current configuration.
in its current configuration.
There are previous approvals, and we just want to improve, and we have.
Was the hardship self-created?
No, it existed with a limited parking spaces, so it's been there for years.
So the current configuration of building and parking spaces has existed for many years?
Yes, it is.
In fact, that configuration has existed since 1999
Yeah, for what the record showed me.
for the hair salon.
Yeah, hair salon and previously a pizza place.
And prior to the hair salon, there was a pizza place.
Pizza place, yes.
Okay. Are the variants that you're requesting for parking the minimum variances that will afford relief in the matter?
Yes, because we just gonna repair the place and open the restaurant.
You're not going to do any exterior
No,
expansion.
there's nothing to do outside.
You're not going to remove the existing parking.
Nothing.
All of your improvements will be interior.
Interior.
Okay.
It's just interior.
Will the grant of variances in any way alter the character of the neighborhood, impair the use of adjacent properties, or be detrimental to the public welfare?
No, it's in a commercial district, and there is many business operated by single owners.
And are those businesses similar to what you're putting in,
There is
such as?
there's restaurants there. There is real estate. There is pubs. There's auto shop repairs. There is yoga studios,
Right, right,
cafes.
right. How many employees do you propose for the business?
Around 8, the most.
Around 8?
Yes.
And let's move to Exhibit A3 because we sort of glossed over that. And I'm going to ask you to look at the interior build-out area.
Mhm.
Could you describe for the board the layout of the interior and how you will serve customers? Well, first of all, the front and main door for customers on Darby Road.
Yes, the main entrance in the Darby Road is for customers only.
So when customers enter your business, what area will be in the building?
In front of the building.
What area will be after they enter the door?
Right.
What type of use will be on the interior?
It's gonna be a sitting area.
Seating area.
Sitting area.
And approximately how many seats are you proposing?
Well, around 60.
Now you understand that you will have to comply with building codes which will govern occupancy limits, egress, fire and panic. You understand that?
Right.
Now, in addition to your seating area, what other areas are located in the demise premises?
The basement.
The basement?
Right.
There is a basement.
Yeah.
What type of use goes on in the basement?
Storage.
Storage only.
Storage only.
Okay. What about the other areas that are drawn for your? What's occurring in the rear part of the building?
That will be the kitchen and the restaurant for the customers.
Okay, restroom and kitchen area.
Yeah.
And prep area.
Right.
Okay. Now, are the conditions which require you to ask for a variance based on the unique configuration of this property for which?
Yes.
Okay. Will the requested variances substantially or permanently injure the appropriate use of adjacent properties?
No.
Okay. Will the grant of the variances increase the danger of fire or otherwise endanger public safety?
No. We will have all the permits for fire department and everything, so we'll be safe.
You'll have your building permits.
Yeah, everything.
You'll have your Ansel hood. You'll have things like
Yes,
that.
everything will be.
I get it. Will you have? Will the grant of the variance in any way overcrowd land or create an undue concentration of population?
No, because there's plenty of space for parking. So
You're not
people will get-
You're not proposing any residential housing, are you?
No.
No. Will the grant of the variance in any way impair the adequate supply of light or air to adjacent properties?
No.
You're not building up, are you?
We're not building anything up. Just
Okay.
improving inside.
Will the grant of the variance in any way affect transportation or unduly burden water, sewer, school, park, or other public facilities?
No.
Will the grant of variance in any way adversely affect the public health, safety, or general welfare?
No, it won't. We will have all our license from the health department.
Okay.
So
Will the grant of the variance in any way create any significant environmental impact?
no.
And for Mr. McGargy's safety, you're not going to do any turning of ground or
No.
excavation? No.
We're not going to do anything. Those
Do
things.
anything? Okay.
We will have companies pick up, commercial garbage and all wastings that comes
Got
in the
it.
kitchen.
Will the grant of the variance in any way create, that's all I have.
Lee, if we could take just a second, Mr. Kane, if it's okay, can we take a 2-minute break?
Yes,
Sure.
sir.
Right.
Cal, would you please put us into a breakout room?
We're live.
All right, we'll resume the meeting of the zoning. Well, actually, we just went off the record. We'll go back on the record. So
Before I finish with Luis, I would move for admission of exhibits A1 through A4.
they're admitted.
And I do have one or two additional questions of Louis. Where would you accept deliveries of product for your business?
Either way, front or back, because we have more access to both.
I see. There is a front,
Yeah, there is a front door. We can go to
there's
the
a grate that goes down to the basement in the front or in the rear?
Yeah, in the back part.
Okay.
There is a stairs by we want to pay the kitchen. There's a middle stairs that goes downstairs to the
Good.
basement.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, I always hold my questions till the end, but this one, I just want to clarify. On exhibit A3, and please correct me if I miscounted, but I think there are 58 seats depicted.
Yes, 58.
So is that the number of seats that would be in the restaurant rather than 60?
Maximum 58, yes.
Okay. All right. Then let's go in reverse order. Well, let's go do it this way. Jessica, do you have questions?
I don't think I have any questions at this time.
Okay, Jesse?
Yes, I have a few. Thank you for adding that question or a statement about the deliveries, because that was going to be my first question, was how you plan to meet the requirements of 182-708 off-street loading, which I believe requires it to be off-street. Can you describe how you'll be meeting those requirements? Because I don't believe that you're asking for a variance from that requirement.
If I may, Luis testified that there are two doors. If you're looking on A3, there are two doors, sort of like the commercial doors that are flush with the sidewalk that open, and they have a staircase into the basement directly from Darby Road.
And so it's your testimony that the front off Darby Road would be the primary means of deliveries?
Luis?
It depends on the companies. If they don't want to access to the back, then yes, Darby Road would be.
Ms. LaRosa, did you hear that?
It depends on the company. If they don't want to exit to the back, then yeah.
Primary in the front, yes. There is the possibility, as Luis testified, in the rear, there's that door.
Okay.
So there is the potential within those 2 or 3 spots in the rear to provide for off-street as deliveries, as well as the on-street on Darby Road, yes.
And so the on-street, of course, they would be pulling over and parking legally to make these deliveries?
Yeah.
Okay, not stopped in the middle of the road illegally?
No. There's a parking right in front of it.
Okay. So I wanted to clarify something else. You've testified several times that you're doing no exterior work, but I would ask, do you have plans to make any changes to the front awning and the signage?
Only the sign, because the awning is from the previous salon. But then changes will not be made in front of the building.
Sorry, changes would not be made.
No, changes will not be made in front of the building. Just the sign, you need to be with the name of the restaurant, but nothing more than that.
We may beautify or rehabilitate the existing awning and stay compliant with the signage ordinance with the name of the restaurant on the awning.
So I guess I would, in layman's terms, you may take down the existing sign that is seems to be on a black fabric awning, and then you may replace it in a similar manner, but with the name of your new restaurant.
Yeah, probably not in the fabric, but you would just put a plank in the wall. That's pretty much.
Oh, you remove the awning and just put a sign.
A plank in the wall. We're not going to make any bigger.
So I believe if I heard that right, your plan is to remove the awning but replace it with a sign that will meet the Haverford Township zoning signage codes.
Right.
Okay. My last question is about dumpsters, trash on the premises. Can you describe that?
That will be in the back part of the building.
Could you describe like the quantity and size?
We'll have 2 dumpsters.
2 dumpsters.
Yes, and I'm not quite sure how big it is, but it's like, it fits like about 10 bags of garbage fully loaded. I believe it's like about 3 or 4 foot square drops, yes.
Okay. How many
And,
times? Yeah, go ahead.
and these would not take up they would not take away from the current parking or the proposed
No.
loading?
No, definitely not, because there is more than 2 parkings in the back part.
So there's room, and there's enough room for the 2 parking, loading,
there is
and the dumpsters.
Yeah, there is a plenty space. Like I said, if you measure correctly, you'll be like for 3 parkings. But due to the consideration that, we need dumpsters there, we'll say 2 parkings plus a dumpster, so it will not take more than that space.
Okay, I don't have any other questions at this time. Thank you very much.
Ed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. My first question would be, how did you arrive at the requirement for 10 off-street parking spots?
Based on interior footage and section, I believe, 707, 708. We did a rough calculation on seating area, service area.
Do you have the area of patron use square footage?
23 by, what was this area you calculated?
I'm not sure. This is my architect that has done it. I don't even know how to do it. It says
What's this dimension here?
29, it says?
29
Yes.
by 3?
By 23, and I think it's by 2.9. I believe. By 4 foot, it says.
You got 667. And what's this area here?
This is 4. This is
This area?
that's like a 4 foot, it says, or 6.2, I believe.
4, that's okay, that's 10. And what are these dimensions at it?
Let me see what the dimensions are. It says 7.2.
There are 3 dimensions you need to add.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3.
7, okay. 7, 3.8, and 2.1.
7 plus 3 plus 2.1.
Yes, and there is another one here, 10.5.
No, just 1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay.
7 plus 2.8
Mm-hmm.
plus
3.8. It's a 7.2 plus 3.8 and 2.1.
So Arlene, I guess it'll say whereupon a discussion was held off the record. Perfect.
7.2
Mm-hmm. Plus 3.8.
plus
Well, let's go off the record until they're done. How's that?
7.2 plus 3.8 plus.
Two.
I'm sorry, this keeps.
Yeah,
Says it
0.2,
plus 3.8.
3.8 plus 2.1.
That's 13. And then what's this dimension to
This
it?
dimension is 4 foot and 6.2.
It's approximately 800 square feet, I guess. 820 square feet. Let's go back on the record. The plan, which is marked exhibit.
Okay, then, Arlene, we'll go back on the record. Thank you.
The plan, which is marked Exhibit A3 for identification, has the approximate area of seating noted as around 800, a fair estimate would be about 820 square feet. The rest of the area is bathrooms and prep and restaurant. But I think, if I recollect, 707 includes bathrooms as well. Would that be correct, Mr. McGargy?
You can ask that of Kelly.
Kelly?
I'm so sorry. What was the question?
For parking calculations, that would also include the area of bathrooms, because that would be patron accessible, correct?
Correct. Anywhere that that is accessible to a
7,
customer.
7.
7.5, 7.5.
So that would be 15 times.
It doesn't say how much it's. But I believe it's at 2.5. I mean, 6.2, sorry. That's 6.2.
So that's another 150 square feet.
Yeah.
So about 975 square feet.
And you need how many parking spots for every 100 square feet?
1, I believe.
So that is where the 10 came from. You also said you're going to have 8 employees, and the previous application limited the number of variance, limited the number of employees, and you don't believe that that applies to this application?
We do not, because that is a discrete use. It's a hair salon. And the circumstances and facts of that particular application were handled in 1999 by that board. We're proposing a restaurant similar to the cafe or brick and brew that's sitting there now.
Now, Ed, before you continue, I'm gonna ask Bill to chime in on his view of that, because he's the one that's going to advise us. Because go ahead, Bill.
So that's why I took the break. I wanted to look at the application. I wanted to look at the prior order, because I knew that the board was likely to have some questions regarding that. I will say that the application does reference, quote, any other relief deemed necessary by the board, which theoretically could allow you to modify those conditions. It's a tough call whether that would have to be re-advertised or whether that advertisement, as I just stated, is sufficient enough. Because the prior conditions do run with the property.
Well, I don't know if I would agree with that, because those conditions are based on a particular use of the property, being a hair salon. Every use in the future, fortunately or unfortunately, must come through to this board because of the existing nonconformities and stand on its own rights and put forth a case that it's going to operate in a manner that will not be injurious to surrounding businesses.
Let me do this, Lee. Let me cut you off for 1 second. And let me take the board into a breakout room for a second just to talk about this, because I'm not necessarily opposed to what you're saying, but I want to discuss it in detail with them.
Yep. You want us to? Break?
No. Okay, Cal, I'm sorry. I don't want to drive Jeff crazy, but tell him we're going to go into a breakout room and go off the record.
Establish that the existing nonconformities of 2 spaces were created by expansion of the building in 1999.
But Lee, it would have come up anyway. And it's a variance that attaches to the property, not the business. But I'm sure Bill is going to discuss it with us. I mean.
Okay.
But we'll see.
All right.
We're live.
Okay. We'll resume the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, June 3rd, 2021. Immediately prior to us breaking, Mr. McGarty was asking questions. The subject of the prior zoning order relating to this property came up, and Mr. Malone requested that we go into a breakout room.
Mr. Kane, we have had a history in Haverford in terms of the zoning hearing board of ensuring that all applicants, neighbors, interested parties are fully advised of what is being requested. And with all due respect to Lee, this application would change the 1999 conditions associated with use of the property. In my opinion, after discussion with the board, I do believe that you need to have that re-advertised just to change those two conditions as well. Paragraphs number 2 and 3 from the November 9, 1999 order.
Okay.
Then how do we best proceed, Bill?
I think Kelly could have that advertised tomorrow, and we could be back on the agenda for any further public comment, board questions, and decision on June 17th.
Okay, and incidentally, Lee, just so you know, Kelly would have given us the prior order anyway. She always does when there's an order that relates to any previous case. So I do appreciate that you attached it to your application, and you know, I mean, it was helpful. Because we didn't have to bring it up to you, and so if you want to be heard, otherwise we'll continue the case. Do you want to be heard?
Well, look, the board has made its decision. We've staked out our position that we don't really believe it's pertinent, but 2 weeks is 2 weeks. And we'll see you on June 17th.
Okay.
If for some reason we are not able to get into,
We'll see you in the first part of July then.
I was just gonna say, I don't know that we'll be able to get it in the,
I was thinking that.
yeah. The Daily Times is very, very nice to us, but I don't know that that they can make that that kind of a situation work. So we may be looking at, that would be July 15th.
July
Sorry,
15th? We only
15th.
have one meeting in July.
Yeah, that night's going to be a nightmare, Kel. So if there's any way they can get it done, let's.
It's 9:20 on Thursday night. The paper, I'm pretty sure, is done for tomorrow. That's yeah, time machine worthy.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we'll see. You're going to contact them in any event, right?
Sure.
Okay. Then with
Did you have
that,
Did you have a chance to run this by your solicitor? Although it's you indicated it was common for the board to take into account conditions imposed upon previous applicants. Did you have a chance to run this by your solicitor? And the chairman, one idea might be, like, Kelly's going to do her darnest to get advertising in for June 17th. That likely will not happen. But maybe tomorrow, if the solicitor weighs in and says, you know what, these conditions which are particular to the prior use would not have to be contemplated in the current application, we could forego the advertisement and just show up on the 17th for any public questioning and decision.
I can speak to Mr. Byrne.
Which Mr. Byrne?
He's the township solicitor. I'm the zoning board solicitor.
Mike Byrne or
Jim.
Jim Byrne? Okay.
Bill, are you still there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I mean, you requested the breakout room and we discussed the matter. So I'm going to let you discuss it with Lee.
Yeah, well, Lee, why don't you and I have a conversation tomorrow morning if you have time?
Oh, absolutely. I have a hearing first thing in the morning. I'll give you a call after that.
Yeah,
But
I'm around all day.
again, my proposition is if we review this tomorrow with the solicitor and he suggests that we don't have to take into account the specialized conditions, we'll be continued to the 17th. If Kelly can get advertising in any event and we're on the 17th, there's really no issue. Alternatively, if your solicitor says, well, I think the board should take into account the prior conditions and modify those if deemed necessary, we may have to be in the July meeting.
Well, why don't you give me a call tomorrow after you're here?
Will do. Thank you, Bill.
All right. With that, this case is continued to our June 17th hearing, provided that we're able to advertise the case sufficiently in time for that. If not, it'll be listed on the agenda, but at that meeting, it will be continued to our next regularly scheduled meeting after the June 17th meeting, which would be July 15. Is that correct, Kel?
I believe it is.
Okay. And it may be better, I mean, we're following solicitor's advice on this one, so if you're gonna discuss it with Bill tomorrow, it may be better to do it earlier before, because Kelly may be successful in re-advertising the thing. We'll see.
I will say that I am highly doubting, considering what time newspapers go out on the street.
Okay. And Kel, the July 15th hearing, is gonna be, it's gonna be a packed room, right?
It's very likely going to be July 15th. There's definitely going to be public interest. It will not be, oh wait, I'm sorry, that's June 17th I'm thinking of. Yeah, July 15th is probably going to be quite a bit of public interest.
And it's the case that's listed is in that specific area. So
Well, it hasn't been listed. It hasn't even been actually formally submitted. That is a
okay.
tentative.
So not be on July 15th?
That's the tentative plan for July 15th, but it hasn't, the application hasn't been submitted.
Okay, I just don't want these guys getting unfairly jammed up by everyone who's there for that case,
Sure,
getting up to
understood.
chime in when they were not otherwise interested, if you know what I'm saying.
Completely do.
All right.
All right.
Lee, I'll talk to you in the morning.
Yep, thank you, Mr. King.
You're welcome. Any other administrative business? Is there anything else we need to discuss? Then we are adjourned. Jeff can take us off the tape.
Have a good evening.
You too. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in person.